November 2025 is just around the corner, and it's gonna be another great month in gaming. No matter if you love games with engaging combat, games with a beautiful world to explore, or games in which you can bond with your friends, I believe there'll be something that will spark your interest. So today I'll share 10 great games I'm excited for in November 2025, and hopefully they will all run on the Steam Deck. Let's check it out. So let's start out with The Last Caretaker. The Last Caretaker is gonna be released on November 6th, and it is a first-person exploration crafting survival shooter game set in an atmospheric ocean world, and where in this game you get to navigate the world and find various resources, as well as in this game you get to fight against rogue machines and do all it takes to defend the future of humanity. Now, as far as Last Caretaker goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? There's actually a demo out for you to try. I haven't got a chance to try it, but based on me looking at the gameplay, the trailers, the requirements and whatnot, I feel like there's a possibility for The Last Caretaker to be able to run on the Steam Deck. Obviously, if you don't mind playing games at 30 frames per second. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, The Last Caretaker is going to be released on November 6th. Now, up next is Unbeatable. Unbeatable is going to be released on November 6th, and it is an anime platformer rhythm game where it blends beat 'em up elements as well as life simulation elements. As far as beat 'em up elements goes, you get to punch different cops as well as clear fast-paced obstacles and also deal with ferocious monsters. As far as life simulation elements goes in this game, it consists of making new friends as well as helping out with those in need. Now, as far as Unbeatable goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? There's actually a demo out for you to try, and where I did not have a chance to try it just yet, but I feel like there shouldn't be a problem for Unbeatable to run on the Steam Deck because, number one, anime games have a great track record of them running on the Steam Deck, but also number two, these games don't look too graphically demanding. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Unbeatable is going to be released on November 6th. Now, up next is Ambrosia Sky Act 1. Ambrosia Sky Act 1 is going to be released on November 10th, and it is a first-person immersion simulation game, and where in this game you must deal with deadly alien funguses in which they are dominating a colony, and where the various funguses each have their own unique abilities. For instance, some of them could shock you as well as some of them could burn you, just as a few examples. Now, as far as this game goes, after clearing a fungus, you'll get access to fruits, and where those fruits you can craft new chemical agents, and where it will help make you be able to tackle the different funguses better. As well as another benefit to getting new chemical agents is that you can also have the ability to access new areas of the game where you normally will not be able to access, in which you can also learn more about the game, learn more about the colony, learn more about the world, in which you get to solve a whole bunch of different dark mysteries and whatnot that is tied to the game. Now, as far as Ambrosia Sky Act 1 goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? There's actually a demo out for you to try if you are really curious. I personally did not have a chance to try it. However, I would say based on, the trailers and looking at the system requirements on Steam, I feel like there should not be a problem for Ambrosia Sky Act 1 to run on the Steam Deck, but again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Ambrosia Sky Act 1 is going to be released on November 10th. Now, up next is Possessors. Possessors is going to be released on November 11th, and it is a fast-paced action side-scroller game which gets the inspiration from other platformer fighters. In this game, you get access to tons of unique movement abilities in which you can find them as well as unlock them as you progress. And where in this game, not only do you fight on the ground, but you can also fight the enemies in the air and juggle them and whatnot mercilessly. Now, as far as this game goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? I have high hopes that this game will run on the Steam Deck because, number one, the studio behind Possessors, which is Heart Machines, they have a great track record of their previous games running on the Steam Deck. Hyper Light Drifter, Solar Ash, they all run on the Steam Deck really well, so I don't see why Possessors will not run on the Steam Deck. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Possessors is going to be released on November 11th. Now, up next is Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is going to be released on November 13th, and it is a renowned first-person shooter franchise. In this game, you can choose whether you want to team up or go solo in campaign mode, in which in campaign mode you get to take on various challenges flooded with high stakes in a massive environment where it is also diverse as well, in which part of the game you will be on the Japanese rooftops, as well as another part of the game you will also be in the Mediterranean coast. Now, as far as multiplayer mode, there are also 16 different types of modes that are 6v6 maps, as well as two 20v20 maps. Now, as far as Call of Duty Black Ops 7 goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? As far as the game goes, it has already been confirmed that the anti-cheat software, as far as the multiplayer aspect goes, it will not run on the Steam Deck, since Steam Deck runs with SteamOS and SteamOS is part of Linux, and where the anti-cheat software is incompatible with Linux. So as far as the multiplayer aspect goes, it will not run on the Steam Deck unless you dual boot with Windows. However, as far as the campaign mode, if you were to play solely, that is something that I don't know, because as far as that aspect goes, there is no information about that whatsoever, at least from my research about whether or not the single player aspect of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 will work. However, I did notice that previous Black Ops games like Black Ops 3, according to ProtonDB, there are some people that say that it works on the Steam Deck, and while there are other people that says it really does not work well. So again, I have no clue about the campaign mode, if that will work on the Steam Deck as far as Black Ops 7 goes. However, the multiplayer aspect, definitely it will not work on the Steam Deck due to the anti-cheat software and whatnot. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is going to be released on November 13th. Now, up next is Where Winds Meet. Where Winds Meet is going to be released on November 14th, and it is an epic open world game which takes place in 10th century China. In this game, there are political issues as well as power struggles and epic battles in the game. Now, as far as you goes, you get to witness not just only a busy city at the imperial capital, but you also get to witness hidden areas of the wilderness, which is flooded with mysteries as well as secrets. Now, as far as this game goes, there's also some RPG elements in which you get to build your character as well as build your fighting style, in which you can choose whether you want to wield different types of weapons such as swords, spears, dual blades, and many more. And where in this game, your actions can lead to different types of consequences as well as different types of fates. You could choose to be a rebel, in which you cause different chaoses and be a big outlaw, and where you can also choose to be somebody who lives a noble life, in which you network and expand your circle of influence. I feel like Where Winds Meet, it most likely is a game that has a whole bunch of lore and whatnot. So I feel like if you are somebody who loves open world games and where you love games with a strong narrative, this game may be definitely something to check out. Now, as far as Where Winds Meet, will it run on the Steam Deck? As far as me goes, when looking at the trailer, looking at the system requirements on the Steam store page, I feel like it is a game that could potentially run on the Steam Deck, because the minimum requirements does say that you can run the game at 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is the amount of RAM that a Steam Deck has. However, it is recommended that you have a system that runs 32 gigabytes of RAM. So my thinking is that potentially Where Winds Meet, it may be something that will be able to run on the Steam Deck, but possibly just barely being able to run on the Steam Deck. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Where Winds Meet is going to be released on November 14th. Now, up next is Escape from Tarkov. Escape from Tarkov is going to be released on November 15th, and it is an extraction first-person shooter looter multiplayer game in which you must prep your raid as well as face ruthless private military contractors, and where you gotta continue to endure as well as fight. It is a game that is really chaotic with fast-paced survival horror elements to the game. Now, as far as Escape from Tarkov goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? I feel like it really depends on whether or not the anti-cheat software is compatible with Linux. But as far as the requirements goes, assuming that anti-cheat software is out of the picture, I feel like this game potentially will not run well on the Steam Deck, because as far as the game goes, the minimum requirements requirements obviously is 16 gigabytes of RAM. However, it is recommended that you have 64 gigabytes of RAM. So I feel like this game may be something that is more on the higher end as far as graphically demanding situation goes. So again, I don't know. I feel like it most likely will not run well on the Steam Deck, but again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Escape from Tarkov is going to be released on November 15th. Now up next is Moonlighter 2 The Endless Vault. Moonlighter 2 The Endless Vault is going to be released on November 19th, and it is an action-adventure roguelite game where you get to live two different lives. Part of the time you will be a crafty merchant, as well as part of the time you're going to be an adventurer. As far as the merchant life goes, you get to tinker with weapons and gadgets, as well as build your connections, as well as your shop to make it better and whatnot. As far as an adventurer's life goes, you get to witness vibrant cartoon-like dimensions, as well as deal with pesky enemies, as well as retrieve shiny loot outside in the world full of mysteries. So yeah, it is a game that is really interesting and really colorful and really childlike and whatnot in my opinion. Now as far as Moonlighter 2, will it run on the Steam Deck? It really does not look too graphically demanding. It looks like a game that can easily run on any type of hardware, so I feel like there will not be any problem for the game to run on the Steam Deck, but again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Moonlighter 2 The Endless Vault is going to be released on November 19th. Now up next is The Midnight Walkers. The Midnight Walkers is going to be released on November 20th, and it is a hardcore first-person game in which this game there are some RPG elements. Like for instance, when you play the game, you get to choose 4 different types of classes. You can choose to be the Brick class, which is a warrior with large hammer as well as heavy armor. As well as you can choose to be the Crow, which is an assassin with daggers. As well as you can choose to be the Lockdown, which is a sniper which inflicts range attacks via the bow. As well as you can choose to be the Margarita, which is a supporter that can heal and buff allies. Now as far as this game goes, you can choose to play either by yourself or team up with a few others cooperatively, and where your main goal is to use the loots that you find to get different gears in order to be stronger, as well as kill various zombies and survivors, and where as you go about the game it gets more and more challenging, and where you have to do all it takes to escape and free yourself. What's tough about this game is that if you die, unfortunately you will lose everything. Now as far as the Midnight Walkers goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? Based on the requirements that I researched, it feels like there's a possibility for the Midnight Walkers to run on the Steam Deck, because as far as the requirements goes, there is a minimum requirement of 8 gigs of RAM. There is a recommended of 16 gigabytes of RAM, which as I said before is the amount of RAM that the Steam Deck has, so I feel like it should not have a problem to run on the Steam Deck. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, the Midnight Walkers is going to be released on November 20th. Alright, last but not least, Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive. Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive is going to be released on November 24th, and in this game you get to experience gorgeous flashy animated combat, as well as, speaking of combat, you get to build your own combat style via a skill tree, in which the skill tree branches out into 8 job advancements. On top of the combat style and skill trees, there are also various weapons that you can equip that can help you in your mission to become the strongest hunter in the whole wide world. There are also interesting bosses and monsters that you get to deal with, as well as in this game it also supports 4-player online co-op in which you get to engage in missions together and take down enemies as hunters. It is a really fun game that both you yourself can enjoy, as well as you with other friends can enjoy, in my personal opinion. Now as far as Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive goes, will it run on the Steam Deck? Based on the system requirements listed on Steam, I don't see why not, because as far as this game goes, the minimum requirement is 12 gigabytes of RAM, and the recommended amount of RAM is 16 gigabytes. So it looks like a game that will run on the Steam Deck no problem, but also anime games in general have a really great track record of them running on the Steam Deck. So I feel like this game should be able to run on the Steam Deck no problem. But again, we shall wait and see. Once again, Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive is going to be released on November 24th. Alright friends, these are 10 great upcoming games in which I'm looking forward to in November 2025. Let me know in the comment section below, are there any any upcoming games in which they are releasing in November 2025 in which you are interested, we'll love to discuss. And if you love this type of videos where I discuss about the upcoming games that I'm looking forward to, please feel free to check back towards the end of each month or the beginning of each month. I will for sure continue this series where I discuss about the upcoming games in which I'm looking forward to for a specific month. And as always, if you love gaming lists, gaming reviews, gaming discussions, and everything related to the Steam Deck, please feel free to like, comment, hype, and subscribe so not miss another video. I try to post Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time and occasionally on Fridays, so stay tuned. Once again, my name is Joe Wang for the Nomadic Gaming Guild, and game on!